Hey there, sports history fan. Arnie Chapman here from the Sports History Network. Now, before you jump into this episode, I wanted to share with you an exciting giveaway we have going on with Home Field Apparel. We have a digital $50 gift card to homefieldapparel.com for one lucky fan of the Sports History Network. All you got to do is head over to sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways to sign up. Again, that's sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways.
Hello, this is Ross Bliley from the podcast Pigskin Tales. This podcast is sponsored by Sterling Soap Company. With products sold throughout 41 locations around the globe, Sterling Soap Company has a unique assortment of products to choose from for your loved one for the holidays. Handmade artisan soaps created by Roderick and Amanda Lovin since 2012, these products are affordable and provide great value. Act now and save on your shipping costs. If you purchase $75 or more, your shipping cost is free in the United States. Shop now online at sterlingsoap.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Yesterday's Sports on the Sports History Network. Today, we're going to have part 2 of the 1972 Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll pick up where we left off last time. A Week 9 game against the Kansas City Chiefs didn't get off to a good start, as Bradshaw threw an interception that defensive back Jim Kearney returned 65 yards for a touchdown. Just when it seemed like Bradshaw was coming into his own, he had a terrible game, completing only 8 of 20 passes for 92 yards with 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Franco Harris, who hadn't done much earlier in the season, was now in full throttle, rushing for over 100 yards for the 3rd week in a row. The Steel Curtain defense was back on track, allowing the Chiefs only 183 total yards and sacking quarterback Lenny Dawson 5 times. It was the team's 5th win in a row, and Steelers fans were in a frenzy. The Steelers were due for a letdown, and it came against the Browns in Cleveland Municipal Stadium. Franco Harris ran for over 100 yards for the 4th week in a row and had a beautiful 75-yard touchdown run. Receiver Ron Shanklin had a good game with 5 receptions for 108 yards. But the Steelers' defense couldn't stop Browns running back, future Hall of Famer Leroy Kelly, gained 107 yards on 21 carries. And Bo Scott ran for 84 yards on 14 carries. The final score was Cleveland 26, Pittsburgh 24. In Week 11, the Steelers ran for over 200 yards on the Purple People Eaters defense. Franco Harris ran for 128 yards on 17 carries, and Pittsburgh cruised to a 23-10 win. Vikings quarterback Fran Tarkington passed for 235 yards, but it took 44 attempts. The Steelers' defense gave up only 95 yards rushing. Week 12 was a rematch with the Browns. Both teams came into this game with an 8-3 record, tied for first place in the AFC Central Division. The Steelers took a 10-0 lead in the first half, dominated by defense. But an 11-yard touchdown run by Franco Harris in the 3rd quarter broke the game open. In the 4th quarter, Bradshaw connected with tight end John McMakin for a 78-yard touchdown reception. Pittsburgh went on to win in convincing fashion, 30-0. Bradshaw played well, connecting on 9 of 17 passes for 162 yards with 1 touchdown. Harris ran for over 100 yards for the 6th week in a row. Steel Curtain defense gave up only 126 yards and sacked quarterback Mike Phipps 4 times. Perhaps the Steelers were too satisfied with the win over Cleveland, or maybe they didn't take the 1-11 Houston Oilers seriously. Whatever the reason, their offense looked lethargic. They gained only 193 yards, and Franco carried the ball 21 times for only 61 yards. The Steelers' defense played well, allowing only 159 yards and holding Houston to a field goal. The final score was Pittsburgh 9, Houston 3. In the final game of the regular season, the Steelers' offense didn't look much better than the week before, gaining only 246 yards. But the defense played great, allowing only 172 yards, no points, and forced 7 turnovers. Ralph Anderson, Jack Ham, Mel Blount, and Mike Wagner each intercepted a pass. The final score was Pittsburgh 24, San Diego 2. Chuck Noll was voted AFC Coach of the Year. Franco Harris won Rookie of the Year award, and Joe Greene was Defensive Player of the Year. Harris made the Pro Bowl with defensive end Dwight White, linebackers Andy Russell and Henry Davis, kicker Roy Gerela, and defensive tackle Joe Greene, who also made All-Pro. The 11-3 Steelers would play the 10-3-1 Raiders in the AFC Divisional Playoffs, only the second playoff appearance in the team's history. The game was played on December 23, 1972 at Three Rivers Stadium. To say the fans in attendance were excited would be an understatement. It will forever be remembered as the Immaculate Reception game, but it was a classic for those who appreciate a hard-hitting defensive battle. Neither team's offense could get anything going through the air or on the ground, as these two heavyweight defenses wouldn't give an inch. After 3 full quarters of play, the Steelers led 3-0. They increased their lead to 6-0 in the 4th quarter, before the Steel Curtain finally buckled. The Oakland offense drove from their 20-yard line to the Steelers' 30-yard line, before Raiders quarterback Ken Stabler ran 30 yards for what seemed like the winning touchdown. But on a 4th down with only 22 seconds left in the game, Bradshaw threw a desperation pass that bounced off defensive back Jack Tatum. Just as the ball was about to fall harmlessly to the ground, it was scooped up by Franco Harris, who ran it in for a 60-yard touchdown. The Raiders argued that the ball bounced off running back Frenchie Fuqua, which would have nullified the play. But the referees ruled in favor of Pittsburgh, who won 13-7 and would now play the undefeated Miami Dolphins in the AFC Championship game. Pittsburgh took an early 7-0 lead, but Bradshaw went down with an injury and was replaced by Terry Hanratty. Still trailing 7-0 in the 2nd quarter, the Dolphins faced a 4th down and set up to punt. But instead of punting, Larry Seiple took off running for 37 yards. couple of plays later, fullback Larry Zonka caught a 9-yard pass for a touchdown. In another tough defensive battle, the teams entered halftime tied at 7. But a third-quarter field goal by Roy Gerela gave the Steelers a 10-0 lead. At this point, Dolphins quarterback Bob Griese entered the game to replace Earl Morrall. Griese had not played since Week 5 due to an injury. Griese connected with receiver Paul Warfield on his first pass for a 52-yard gain. Miami ended the 11-play, 80-yard drive with a touchdown and a 14-10 lead. The Dolphins added another touchdown in the fourth quarter to increase their lead to 21-10. At this point, Bradshaw re-entered the game and led the Steelers to a touchdown to cut the Dolphins' lead to 4. But the Steelers' final 2 possessions ended with interceptions, and their dream of going to the Super Bowl was over. It had been a magical season that no Steelers fan could have imagined would be this good. Pittsburgh had another great season in 1973, finishing with a 10-4 record before losing to the Raiders in the playoffs, 33-14. Roy Blount Jr. wrote a book about the 1973 Steelers titled About 3 Bricks Shy of a Load. Blount was correct in his assessment, and in 1974 the Steelers drafted not 3, but 4 future Hall of Fame players. The Steelers went on to win 4 Super Bowls in the next 6 years. That will conclude our podcast on the 1972 Pittsburgh Steelers. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, and God bless.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com. Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website, seriously, all you got to do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you got to do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.